here on August 27th of this year. At that time, the defendant withdrew her previous entered plea of not guilty and entered a plea of guilty to count 1, amended count 2, amended count 5, amended count 7, amended count 16, count 25, count 27, count 28, and amended count 30. This court ordered a pre-sentence report, psychological evaluation, and victim impact statements, and set sentencing for today. The state has had an opportunity to review the probation reports and is prepared to proceed with sentencing at this time.
I don't think I have ever seen a pre-sentence report as, just gonna say, awful as the one that I read about Ms. Cochran. Never really thought that I'd read the words that at the age of 1, a client of mine was dunked in a pot of boiling water by her mother. The abuse continued throughout her entire childhood. Between foster homes, she was adopted by another couple. There was abuse in that relationship. Obviously, this upbringing led to major mental health issues for Ms. Cochran. She's been hospitalized multiple times, multiple suicide attempts, suffers from borderline personality disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, schizophrenia, anxiety, depression. Yet somehow, we're now here with her at age 32, this being the first time she's ever been involved in the felony system. And I think that what that speaks to is that at her heart, Ms. Cochran is not a criminally minded individual. I do think that she became homeless earlier this year. She associated herself with her co-defendant, and don't know which one influenced the other, but the two of them certainly together were.
Well, they're each blaming each other.
Yes,
so.
Yes, they are. But what is undeniable is that the combination of the two together was a very toxic relationship. They set down a path of basically driving around in the car that they were living in, stealing tip jars, credit cards, and then there was the interaction with the police that led Ms. Cochran on the chase that we know created a tremendous amount of damage, pain, inconvenience for a tremendous number of people. Most important underlying issue to be resolved with Ms. Cochran is her mental health. The prosecution and I are entering into a joint recommendation for community control. It is the defense's recommendation that Ms. Cochran be ordered to enter and complete the 30 to 90 day, on average, program at Everett Clinic, where we have had her assessed. She has been accepted. We have an email that was sent to us last night from the Everett Clinic saying she's able to be admitted. That could be as early as next week if the court would permit. We do feel that given her lack of criminal history and the obvious issues and challenges that she has faced over the course of her life, that getting this opportunity to address what we feel is the most serious issue that she has to deal with, her mental health, is the best chance that we have at Ms. Cochran not returning to this court in the future, Your Honor. Thank you.
Doesn't it make sense that the fact that she's 32, doesn't have a record, with her horrible upbringing, Doesn't it make sense that her engagement in treatment throughout the years staved that off?
Treatment for her
Mental
mental health issues?
Sure.
That the fact that she received mental health treatment is why?
Engaged in mental health treatment.
Yes.
Got her to a stable point where she wasn't committing crimes. Isn't that safe to presume since she's 32 with no record?
I would say it's one of the factors.
It's unlikely that she was running around committing crimes not getting caught, right? I mean...
That I think is unlikely, yes.
Okay.
I do think that what she indicated in her pre-sentence report was that at the time that these offenses were committed, she was homeless, she was not taking her mental health medications, very likely self-medicating with the methamphetamine and cocaine.
Right.
And we are looking to get her back to the state, hopefully, that, as the court indicated, is probably what kept her out of trouble all those years.
Okay. Ms. Cochran, what do you want to tell me?
I just want to thank you for your time, and I want to apologize for all the people that I hurt. I really truly did not mean to do that. I honestly have been through a lot, and I just need help, and I'm sorry. And one of the people I've hurt the most, I've known for quite a few years, and I stole from her, and I'm sorry for the person that I hurt at that house, and I'm sorry for the damage that I did, and I'm truly sorry to everybody. I'm sorry. That's all I have to say, and thank you.
Where were you coming from when you drove?
I was coming from Mr. Heroes. The person that I was dating robbed Mr. Heroes in a Starbucks, and the police were behind us, and I'm taking some at fault of what happened. My boyfriend told me to just out-chase him, and that's what I did. And I don't know why, it just blanked out and couldn't make the turn, and I hit the house.
How fast were you going?
Well, 65, probably, maybe 65.
Any other cars on the street?
It came to a red light, and I still kept going. I think it went to like a yellow light, and then I just still kept going, and I tried to make the turn, and I didn't, and I hit the house.
So when was the plan hatched to rob Mr. Hero?
Honestly, I didn't know he was going to rob the Mr. Heroes.
What did you think he was doing?
He told me he had an interview at Mr. Heroes. So I took him to Mr. Heroes, and I waited for him, and he told me just go, and I pulled out, and the cop was behind us.
Okay, and what did he tell you when the cop got behind you?
He said, just keep going. So I did.
Did you say why? You just...
No,
okay,
but I knew I'm going to be honest, I knew Starbucks. I knew he robbed Starbucks.
When did he rob Starbucks in relation to when you were at Mr. Hero?
He robbed Starbucks before Mr. Heroes.
So you went from Starbucks on Lakeshore to Mr. Hero on Vine Street?
Yes.
And so you had a really good idea when he got in the car at Mr. Hero that he had done the same thing at Mr. Hero, right?
No, I didn't know. He said he did. He did say he had an interview, though.
Okay, well,
that
he's
morning.
a thief, right? So why would you trust that he's stealing from Starbucks and then going for an interview to Mr. Hero?
I get what you're saying. Honestly.
So why didn't you stop when you saw the police with their lights and their siren?
I don't know. I don't know. Just kept
Well,
going.
you wanted to get away, right?
Yeah, I've never been in trouble, and I got scared.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Now, how long have you been engaging in mental health treatment?
Ever since I was about 9.
Okay. And you did that consistently into your 30s?
Yes. And I was being mentally abused and physically abused when I was adopted and raped for 8 years, and I couldn't take it anymore. And just things went bad, downhill. just been through a lot.
When did things go downhill?
Ever since I was burned as a child. It started there, and then it ended when it started when I was 9 again, after in and out of foster homes. I was adopted 9/11, and then re-entered into abuse again, and it's just been ongoing since. So every day for 32 years I've been abused, but I also got help. I didn't want to live that way, so I got help.
When did you get help?
9.
Okay. And you continued, your last treatment was with Crossroads?
Yes, I started at Crossroads in Menor with Margie Barbera, and then I continued Crossroads all the way to Signature Health, to Crossroads again.
And your last treatment with Crossroads, were you on medication?
Yes, it was in March.
What medication?
I was on Prazosin, Depakote, and there was 3 other ones. I can't remember the name of them because the way they're spelled, it's hard to pronounce them.
Okay. Were you taking it as you were supposed to take it?
Every day, yes.
Were you able to stabilize yourself for a period of time?
Yes.
So what happened with this character that you were with? Where'd you meet him?
Honestly, I met him on Facebook.
What do you mean you met him on Facebook?
We were talking on Facebook for a year, and then we started dating, and then I moved in with him, and he was getting evicted, so we ended up moving into a car.
Where were you living before that?
My mom.
Okay.
But I also had an apartment for a while, so I was living on my own.
I guess that was kind of my question to Mr. Matthews before, is with the terrible upbringing and the abuse, you were able to stabilize yourself to the point where you could do those things, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what's with the drugs?
I hated my life. Because everything I've been through, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And so I just wish every hit that I did or every poke that I did, that maybe it would just end. I couldn't do it anymore.
All right, well,
And it brought me into bad upbringing with a boyfriend who didn't care anything about me.
so you didn't start using drugs until you met him?
Yes,
What kind of drugs?
meth and crack
Where were you getting it?
in Cleveland.
Where at?
Cleveland Heights, South Euclid.
So what do you remember about this accident?
I just remember driving, and I was nervous from him robbing Starbucks, and he went into Mr. Heroes. I was waiting for him, and then he told me to go. Had something in his hand, and he was reaching in his pocket, and then I pulled out, and I was turning right at that light by Mr. Heroes, and then I went to go turn right, and then he was behind me. He had his lights on, and he told me to keep going, and I listened, and I kept going, and then I thought I could make the light, and I didn't. I was going really fast, like 65, and I went to go turn, and I missed the turn and hit a house. It happened so quick, and it was really scary.
What do you mean it was scary?
It was scary because life flashed before my eyes.
Well, you knew you were going to crash prior to the crash, right?
No,
You didn't know that when you lost
I don't know.
control
I wasn't thinking. It was just, everything was happening so quick. I just wasn't thinking what I was thinking. It was like my mind was somewhere else.
I mean, imagine the shock that Miss McLaughlin encountered and Mr. Champagne encountered. when they're minding their own business, going about their business, and everything changes in a second.
I know that was partially because of me, and I'm taking responsibility for what I did. And I've been regretting every moment of it since that day that it happened. And I struggle with it.
When you say partially responsible, what do you mean partially responsible?
I take responsibility for the thefts that I did, the people I've hurt, the things that I've done to get me here.
Tell me what thefts you're taking responsibility for.
I did take money
From where?
from some people. I did take debit cards.
From where?
I took a couple things from one of the people that I've known for a while. I took one of her debit cards.
What were the circumstances of that?
I'm trying to get drugs
I know, but where was this person that you knew? Where did you get her card
at a bar.
from? At what bar?
Playaway Lounge. I took her book bag, and there was some kind of AA card in it, and I tried using it. I took her bag there, and then I went to another bar
Why did you go to another bar?
to drink.
Okay. How long had you known this person?
Since 3+ years, I've known her.
Where else did you steal from?
It's mainly him who did it, but I did take money. I told him it wasn't a good idea to take all the debit cards because they were going to be able to, because he was using so many, they were going to be able to track him.
How did you know that?
Because we were talking about it, and he said something about they're going to be able to track where we're going. And then we stole one debit card, and we went to a gas station in Wycliffe, and we were trying to put gas in his car to pump. And he's like, we shouldn't do this anymore. So, and it kept going from there, and then we were getting drunk, or we were getting high, and then we just kept doing it. And then leading up to the crash. And then we stopped. So we got arrested.
Okay, anything else you want to tell me?
No, I do not.
Mr. Downey?
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, it's striking how traumatic, in reading the pre-sentence report, the defendant's upbringing was. I agree with Mr. Matthews that it's one of the worst things I've seen as far as somebody's childhood and how they were set up for failure. So it's expected that the defendant would continue to struggle with that in her adult life. I also believe, on the other side, the defendant still minimizes her conduct and deflects blame. She doesn't see the need for drug and alcohol treatment, despite her use of drugs leading to this. Even if she was not the one physically going into the stores and stealing for each one of these, she assisted and aided and abetted in those by driving the car, and so she is equally as responsible. The defendant also doesn't seem to, at least through a pre-sentence report, have a clear path forward. She states that she hates her co-defendant for what she says is ruining her life, but then also says that she's not going to leave him because he's her first love. And I think it's easy to be very angry about her conduct, especially with the crash that ended everything. She caused leading up to that, she caused widespread harm to many people and businesses throughout the county during a crime spree, but then this culminated in this significant harm that was solely her doing. And those actions alone, I believe, justify prison. The harm that she caused justifies prison. The pain and the anger she causes justifies prison, and she should face consequences for her actions. On the other side of things, she is young, and if the goal is to prevent this conduct from happening in the long-term future, then I think what makes sense is intensive, inpatient, residential, dual diagnosis treatment that encompasses whatever she was doing before, plus some, because it appears that over time things have gotten worse. So the state is in agreement with the community control sanctions to the extent that it's not prison, but I believe that what is appropriate in this case from the state's perspective and our recommendation is that this is a lengthy and intensive period of community control with everything that is required to prevent this from happening again. And if she does not comply with this, then it's the state's intention to request that her community control be terminated and that she be sent to prison for a lengthy period of time. Because at that point, if she is not willing to comply with what is necessary to conform her conduct so she's not a danger to society, then she just has to be separated from society.
All right, I have reviewed the pre-sentence report, the psychological evaluation, the victim impact statements. Listen to Ms. Cochran, Mr. Matthews, Mr. Downing. And I've considered all the provisions of 292911, 292912, and 292913. With everything that the attorneys have talked about and you've talked about, I would concur this is one of the worst social history aspects of a pre-sentence report that I've seen. Despite that, to a certain degree, you managed to overcome that and function as an adult who was able to carry on a job, have a residence, and so to a certain degree, to a great degree, you knew what to do in order to try to function, and you did it. The proof that you knew how to do it is that you did it. And then if you are to be believed in this case, you hadn't used drugs, and then you start with the meth, with this Saluski or whatever his name is. And so that threw everything out of kilter, threw your mental health condition out of kilter, certainly. Because I've yet to see a case where mixing illicit drugs with prescription drugs actually does any good, does immense harm. So, I mean, it's bad enough in and of itself that you're thieving from your friend and you're running in and taking tip jars and all that nonsense. It's like it's kind of a less severe version of Bonnie and Clyde, you two, running around stealing stuff out of stores. Until you decide you're going to run from the cops. And that's where this thing takes a horrific turn. Because it's bad enough when people run from the cops, when the attempt is made to stop them. Because they're not because the person who's driving the car, in this case you, knew that you had to stop and refused to stop. And by virtue of the fact that you're going 65 miles an hour down that street, if that's all you were going, is inherently dangerous. And Saluski, I'm sure, like many other people in this situation, figured if you would run fast enough that they would stop chasing you, which is what they do because of the danger of everybody else on the road. So they stop and they try to clean it up another day, okay? But you didn't stop. That danger presented itself almost immediately, because you rammed right into Mr. Champagne and Miss McLaughlin's house. And I think Mr. Downing is spot on in saying that had you not hit 512, you'd have gone right through the side of that house and probably killed everybody inside of it. And so that does two things at that point. One is she's got serious injuries that this is June 19th, right? So 4 months ago, that haven't gone away, despite treatment. The second thing is that that's the physical side of it. The mental side of it is that she replays that in her mind. Mr. Champagne, because of various complicating factors that already existed, replays that in his mind. And his son replays that in his mind. And talks about that frequently. So that's what you did. And it doesn't matter that Saluski told you to drive away. You drove away. You didn't have to listen to him. You knew he was, you knew he, you're kind of minimizing things from the standpoint that you didn't know everything he was doing. You know what he was doing. You knew what he was doing. And you knew that since he just stole from Starbucks 5 minutes before, you knew he was going in to steal from Mr. Hero. And so you were a part of those steps, a full part of those steps. But you made the decision that you were going to drive away for whatever reason, most notably that you wanted to get away, and you caused that damage, which those folks are living with today, Mr. Champagne and Miss McLaughlin, and they're not going to have the physical property part of this solved anytime soon. Best case scenario, they'll have a stable structural house maybe next summer. Best case scenario. And they're having to fight with an insurance company in order to do so. All because you decided you didn't want to stop because you'd never been in trouble before. So you've got to live with the consequences of your action. There's restitution that, and Mr. Downing, make sure I get everything here, that I'm going to order. Giovanni's $42. Giuseppe's $30. Soundstage $20. Dollar General $134. Westel's $36.85. Morelli $100. Lino's $12.25. Pulp $15. What's cheese? What was it? Cheese what?
Big cheese, $10.
Big cheese $10. Clemensic $12. Mr. Hero, $25. Soundstage, $20. Mugshots, $30. Mr. Collins, $400. Ms. Nielsen, $768. Mr. Champagne, $700. Ms. McLaughlin, $1,358.22. Is that everybody?
Starbucks, $15. And
Starbucks, $15.
and for Giuseppe's, you said 30. It's $35.
Giuseppe's, $35. So there's restitution that you owe for those folks. And as Mr. Downing said, there's likely to be more, but that may be the insurance company chasing you at some point in the future.
I'm sorry, I missed
Yep.
one. Marco's, $10.
Marco's, $10. Okay. So with regard to the sentence in this case, after consideration of everything, I'm going to find that at this point, you're not amenable to community control. On count 1, 180 days in jail. Count 2, 180 days in jail. Count 5, 180 days in jail. Count 7, 12 months in prison. Count 16, 12 months in prison. Count 25, 12 months in prison. Count 27, 12 months in prison. Count 28, 36 months in prison. Count 29, 18 months in prison. Count 28 and 29 will be consecutive to one another because those sentences are necessary to protect the public from future crime and for appropriate punishment, and they are not disproportionate to the seriousness of your conduct and the danger that you pose to the public. And at least 2 of these offenses were committed as a part of 1 or more courses of conduct, and the harm was so great or unusual that no single prison term adequately reflects the seriousness of the conduct. All the remaining counts will be concurrent to 28 and 29. When you get out, you might be on post-release control for up to 2 years under the parole authority. Is that a 1 to 3, Mr. Downey?
1 to 3, Your Honor.
1 year, at least 1 year, up to 3 years with conditions. If you violate the conditions, the parole authority could return you to prison for up to 9 months for each violation, up to 1/2 of my sentence. If that violation is a new felony, you could get an additional consecutive prison sentence for the violation, the maximum of which would be the greater of 12 months or the time left under post-release control. The items subject to forfeiture are forfeited. The remaining counts are dismissed. On count 28, 5-year driver's license suspension. The costs are assessed. Anything else, Mr. Downey?
Credit.
Credit for how many days?
108 days, Your Honor.
108 days credit. Anything else, Mr. Matthews?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, we're adjourned.